Hey, comic book collectors, do you want to protect what you collect? Do you hate when your comic books slide around in your short box, or you need to turn them sideways just so they don't bend or fall over? Well, look no further than Sidekick Supplies. Their product fits firmly inside your comic box, so you don't need to worry. And not only is their product made in the USA, but also ships free directly to your doorstep. Check out our sponsor, Sidekick Supplies, at sidekicksupplies.com and use the code ComicCon15 for 15% off your purchase. Believe me, you'll be ordering more than one.
Welcome to the one and only Comic-Con Podcast, your podcast for comic book news, reviews, and comic community drama, with your hosts, Nemesis Prime and Milton the Manimal. Are you listening?
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. Comic-Con Podcast Season 4, Episode 35. You are here now listening to Terrificon Recap Version 3. No, just kidding. No, we are finally moving on from Terrificon. As much fun as it was, we are now looking forward to the future. We're going back to basics, and today we will be talking comics. We have some questions in the community, and we'll be doing some articles as well. So the typical episode, if you are any new listeners to us, whether you met us in person at Terrificon or from wherever else, found us through some of the recent drama or whatnot, this is what our typical episodes are like. So welcome. And speaking of welcome, Justin, what's going on?
Hey, how's it going today? Did you hear the news? Did you hear the bad news?
Oh God, I feel like there's a joke coming. Let's hear it. No,
What's the bad news? Another year down, and we didn't get nominated for the Comic Book Community Award.
Well, you know, I mean, look, man.
Shucks.
Like I said, I've turned a new leaf and I'm a nice guy now. And but I guess in the defense of that, one, we're not a YouTube channel. You know, you occasionally drop our videos on YouTube. Occasionally we go live if it's for something fun, but we're more of a podcast format, pretty much. Obviously, all podcast format. And I don't really pay attention too much to the awards, but I don't think they really have that, do they? They don't have like a podcast category necessarily. I don't know.
No. So maybe next year.
And it's all based on, I have seen that in the past, it is based on like the categories are based on subs. So I don't know how that would really even equate to like a podcast. But no, you know what?
YouTube, it is what it is. I don't know. I know there's different tiers for, like, let's just say speculating has like under 1,000 people and then over 1,000 people. So, you know, but hey, I just want you to know, because I know you don't keep track, we are just shy of 1,000 followers or subscribers on YouTube. So we may hit a bar, you know, in the next week or two, which is pretty nice. But again, we don't really post too much stuff other than YouTube, other than these the audio portions, and every now and then I throw out some videos. But so if you're new to the YouTube as well and followed us, I also did those 2 video game hauls, so that was fun.
Yeah, you know, the awards thing, it's a good idea. Like, I mean, it's a fun idea. There's definitely
favoritism.
I don't have the right answer on like how it should be done perfectly. And I don't know, you know, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't pay enough attention to it. There's definitely some gripes from people in the community. I know I thought it was always kind of bogus that the Lords never got on there for as long as they were on, but you know, it is what it is, but it's also not a real award. So let's not act like this isn't like the Academy Awards. Oh man, I didn't get nominated. You know?
I want a trophy, because that's the age we live in, right? Like, I got to get a trophy for last place.
But that being said, the CBCAawards.org, I believe is the website.
I don't know. Sure.
Check it out. Get your votes in. Some of our friends are on there. Make sure you vote for them, or else we're coming to your front door with a baseball bat.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, fun stuff, whatever, man. Community, keep it going. And and then maybe they'll have a podcast. Maybe because I just was so nice. Maybe I'm just such a nice guy now that they'll do a podcast, and then we'll be on there. But
yeah, next year we'll have that category.
We're still, I think we still probably pissed off way too many people at this point.
Whatever. I mean, it is what it is. We have fun. Everybody knows who we are, and if you don't know who we are, you know, that's fine too. Because I feel like we're going to have new listeners, always growing the podcast. And, you know, we're always comics. We're not a speculation channel. We're not a little, you know, we don't do hauls for the most part. So it's just to listen on your drive to work, on your drive home. Yeah. So let's keep in the community
video
stuff,
games, right?
Yeah.
Just the video game hauls.
So
speaking of video games, Justin's so sick of me talking about Final Fantasy, but I'm so close, dude.
so close. It'll be soon. It'll be over.
It's gonna be tonight, I think. Once we're done
Okay.
here, I'm gonna marathon through. So anyway, let's get into it, man. I'm looking forward. We got a lot of books to talk, so let's burn through this question in the articles, and then let's get to 3 weeks of comic books, man.
Hell yeah.
So
So yeah,
what you got?
community question. I'm not going to give out like government names, but Patrick E, thank you so much for sending this. This was actually about 2 weeks old. It was during like Terrificon, and obviously when we had everybody on last week, I didn't really want to pull this one up because we were talking Terrificon recap. So Patrick E says, "Yo guys, hope Terrificon treats you well. Manimal props to you for contacting Gem and squashing the beef.
Oh,
That shows maturity and respect. Y'all don't have to be friends, but you don't need enemies. Love the podcast. Question: Do you want to write a comic, and if you do, what genre? I would love to write a good detective one, but work with kids have me tied up. Keep up the good work. Make sure you get paid for ads, and aloha."
damn it. Son of a bitch. It almost snuck by. And actually, for a second, I got really mad. I got really mad there, Patrick E. I got really mad. And then I realized that I told this story about Aloha. And he was probably trolling me. Oh, God. You almost got me, dude. You almost had me. You never had your car, dude. So, anyway, great question. The Gem thing, I know we've kind of talked about this a little bit, but yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. It ain't worth it anymore. It was a long time ago. I actually obviously had some like personal feelings about it. Like there was personal situation with me, and that's why I felt so strongly about it. I know I've said this before, but just real quick once more, had nothing to do with fame, popularity, whatever, anything channel and anything based like that. For me, it was a more personal thing, and that's on me. That can't be. It's not necessarily fair for me to push that on him. So, but yeah, we talked. We're cool. Who knows? Who knows in the future? You never know what the future may hold. But question. Oh, I mean, who doesn't? Dude, and especially me being like a big reader and like big into writing. And I took a lot of like creative writing classes and stuff. I always wanted to write. Of course, I've always wanted to write a comic. I mean, who's reading comics that didn't really at some point want to write a comic?
Oh, of course.
Right? Like I primarily read superhero comics, but I don't feel like that would be the one I'd want to write. Like that's tough. Now if you asked me like, hey, do you think you could write like I don't know, I'm just throwing one out, like you could write like a Nightcrawler series or something, like an already established character? Like, yeah, I could probably do something like that. But if I was actually gonna like write a story, I think I'd want to go like almost like sci-fi horror or like supernatural horror. And the horror like light, obviously like I want like some violence and death and stuff like that in it. But I think probably like sci-fi, maybe even fantasy. That would probably be the genre I'd go. Those are the things that appeal to me. So you?
So it's actually, when Pat sent this question, I thought about this a lot, and this is deep diving into like the 90s, and I used the same thing. Like I would love to write. And in the 90s, like there was all the Star Wars expanded novels, and I'm sure a lot of people have read that stuff. And this is a time where all we had was the first 3 movies, like 4, 5, and 6. Right. And I actually wrote like a short novel on my like the first computer I ever had, like the big CTR monitors. Fiction. Yeah. So and it's crazy because it literally, for the most part, like kind of people like have always said this, but it was basically like post Return of the Jedi. So it was like after. So here it is. It was like after Nintendo 64 because I wrote it on. It was called the Hunter's Saber. I still remember this. Called the Hunter's Saber. So it was basically Boba Fett crawls out of the Sarlacc pit, which happens, right? And he wants like the most powerful weapon in the Star Wars universe, which is the lightsaber. So he ends up tracking down. He wants to track down Luke Skywalker because he knows that Luke Skywalker has a lightsaber. So his whole thing is trying to figure out how to get to Luke. So he, first searches out Dash Rendar and ends up killing him and, torturing him to the point where he can find where Luke is, and then finds out where Luke is post Return of the Jedi and steals or kills like Luke's lightsaber. And now like that's his weapon. So like now that's what he's known for. Like the badass bounty hunter of the galaxy has like a lightsaber. It's like, damn, like you don't think about this back in the 90s, like a bounty hunter who has a lightsaber. So That
Dude,
was
so you wrote fan fiction, and then you had the audacity to kill Dash Rendar like in
hell
your
yeah.
fan fiction novel. Wow, dude.
Because again, it was
Ballsy,
the
ballsy.
90s. Dude, it was the 90s where bounty hunters were cool. Like everybody knew who,
Yeah.
you know, Boba Fett was and IG-88 and Bosk and all them. And, it's like, come on, there got to be something different. So
Mhm.
I was like, yeah, man, I could do that. But as far as something more newer, I kind of want to go more into like I love the animal stuff where they talk, but I would make it
Okay.
more of a comedy. Like with Feral and Stray Dogs and Animosity. I would have it be an animal centric comic, but I would make it more of a comedy instead of a horror that they've done.
You hate
So
comedy.
I, I do like comedy. I just don't like it in the Marvel universe. So yeah, that's kind of where I would be. It would definitely be it could be like a romantic comedic thing with animals or just
Mhm.
straight up like comedy. Like I don't know if you've ever seen like the Secret Life of Pets.
Mm.
Remember that animated
Yeah,
movie?
yeah. Yeah. I didn't
So like
watch it in a
something
long
cool
time.
like that, or I don't know. That
I
was
also
kind of
like
where
I like takes on like already like IP that's already there. Like so like Nottingham, you know what I mean? Like retakes on like Robin Hood or even like the once and future stuff, obviously being a big King Arthur guy. Both
Mm,
of us loved that. Like I also like stuff like that. Like it's fun to return to already established IP and like take another shot at it and do something a little different. Obviously that there's risks involved with stuff like that, right? Like 'cause we both tried to read oh, what was it, dude?
Briar.
Briar? Wasn't
That's still
that like
going. Yeah,
yeah.
that's the
Oh
snow.
god.
No, Cinderella. No, Sleeping Beauty. That's
Sleeping
the
Beauty,
one.
yeah. Bro. And I thought it was gonna be a 4-issue miniseries, right? And I was like, good. It was I know, I don't want to you know what? I was gonna say, look, I'm nice. I'll be nice to the community, but like I'm still gonna talk shit on things I didn't like. Like I didn't like it. I could barely get through it. I
Hmm.
just struggled with it. I tried to give it. I read the 4 issues and I can't believe it's still going.
Yeah, I
But
think it was issue 9 came out either last week or
what?
this week. Yeah,
What the hell was it even talking about in at that point? I don't even know.
I haven't picked it up since issue 3, so
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you.
Huh. So yeah, it's fun to revisit stuff like that. Like Peter Pan would be a really cool IP to revisit in like a different tone. Because there's some creepy shit with Peter Pan, right? I mean, like all these little kids and they're like fighting a grown-up pirate. Like, you could make some darkness out of that, dude, for
Well,
sure.
there is. So I don't know if you've ever read this or anyone who's listening, and I've read it. The Zenoscope stuff has taken all that into a different tone. So
Oh, is that like Robin with the Y? That one and the
yeah, so they have
female?
that where yeah, so it's a female, but it's called Hook, and Captain Hook is the hero and Peter Pan is the villain. He's actually like a vampire type of character, and he steals kids
Hmm.
to drain them of their essence to live longer, to become immortal. So similar to how in Neverland you'd never grow old, he
So
doesn't
the
want to
Lost Boys,
die.
a la the Vampire Lost Boys movie.
Mm.
Interesting
Yeah,
tie-in.
it's a very cool series. I've read my favorite stuff, especially, and if people are like, "Oh, the Zenoscope stuff is all chick stuff." The Hook series is very good, and Alice in Wonderland was good. I wouldn't say it's the best, but I think the Hook series and Oz was a really cool. Oz was really cool. It's like Lord of the Rings
Hmm.
because like there's different in the whatever land of Oz. There's different like factions and different territories. So just picture that in like a Lord of the Rings type of map of Middle Earth. So, but it's cool because they've like returned to Oz, Wizard of Oz, Oz itself, and then there's like I'm sure by this point there's future stuff. But I read like the original 3 series, which is really awesome.
Cool.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
I like I loved Oz. Like I read all the original Oz books and I love like anything Oz. They have Scotty Young did that Oz series for a while where he was just kind of
hmm
like rewriting the books. Um
yep.
they were cool. I couldn't really get into it too much, but I tried.
Yeah. So,
But yeah.
Pat, thank you so much for the question. Of
Patrick,
course, you could
thank you.
always Patrick E. Thank you so much for the question. Again, if you could always send us to either of our Instagrams or any 3 of our Instagrams, or at the Comic Con Podcast at gmail.com.
Cool. So let's get into some articles. First one we've got up here from Bleeding Cool. So this is an interesting, almost like a what if book or what if article here. So what if Jim Lee would have done it? What Jim Lee would have done at Marvel if he returned to X-Men this year? So apparently there was some discussion. Marvel approached Jim Lee to return to X-Men after the Krakoan age with a pretty attractive offer, but Jim Lee declined. So back in January, Bleeding Cool reported on this, that Rob Liefeld had stated Jim Lee came close to returning to the X-Men comic books last year. That Marvel approached Jim Lee to leave DC in the spring of 2023 and come to Marvel to return to draw X-Men and have Jim Lee take over the book after the Krakoan age wraps up that year with a very healthy offer, which while not something that Jim Lee took, was very handy when Lee was negotiating his current DC Comics contract. So according to Rob Liefeld, the reason he didn't is he had not done much interior work since he was drawing 10 pages an issue on Suicide Squad for the first 7 issues with Rob Williams back in 2016. He didn't want to commit to such a run and the intense and laborious work and deadlines needed at this time in his life, and that his executive career gives him family and holiday time that drawing on an artboard may not. Though Rob Liefeld believes that Jim Lee will draw the X-Men sometime in his life. So interesting stuff. Apparently, some of the things that kind of made Jim Lee think about it was the Deadpool Wolverine movie coming, the X-Men 97 cartoon revival, which was obviously based a lot on what Jim Lee's work he had done with his X-Men stuff. So, yeah, interesting. I think, look, I don't know, like obviously Jim Lee's like one of the all-time greats, right? Like there's no denying that.
Yep.
But there are times when you go back. So like, okay, I'm thinking of this just off the top of my head here. It's kind of like, sometimes I feel like it's like with the Robert Downey Jr. thing, right? It's like, oh, guess who's playing Doctor Doom? He's back, Robert Downey Jr. And so like, obviously Marvel and the X-Men are not in a position where they're struggling right now, but like sometimes bringing these guys back doesn't work out. Like Chris Claremont was brought back to the X-Men like a couple years ago. And Claremont, I think, I would argue this till the day I die, probably, that you want to talk about most influential X-Men writers of all time, it's Chris Claremont. Like he wrote all of the big stories, Jim Lee and them came after, but Chris Claremont wrote all the big ones, all the lore of X-Men. So when Claremont came back, you're thinking, hey, here's a guy who knows X-Men. And then it just wasn't very good. Like it was dated. He wasn't really in the same vein of like what readers were into at the moment. And that's not to say Jim Lee wouldn't be. He's obviously a little younger. But I don't know, sometimes it's kind of good to just walk away at the top, like, and not come back. And I think he made a good decision, dude. This late in his career, shit, you listen to like what V talks about with like the books he has to do, dude. I mean, that's a lot of work, man. This guy's like riding highs. Jim Lee's running DC, like family holidays off. Hell yeah, bro. Like do that.
Publisher, CCO.
Yeah.
He's got it all, and I'm sure, yeah, when he was doing all the interior stuff and doing covers and varying covers, it's time consuming. He's got many kids, and they're, right. the reason why he was only at Terrificon one day because his daughter was graduating from medical school or some college, I think it was. I can't remember. It was something to do with that, but that's why he was only, because initially he was going to come for 2 or 3 days, but that's why he was only there for one day, because he had to do the graduation. So it's tough, man. It's tough when you're especially older. Like if you're a young cat and you can get in there and have the opportunity when you're young enough, especially when he was with Marvel and Image and then DC, and they've kept him around for a really long time. So I'm happy with it. But yeah, we would old school 90s X-Men shit, man. I would love to see him draw that stuff now, especially for as much as he's changed. Because when you read it in the article, the Suicide Squad stuff, I remember when he did that and it looked cool and it was good.
That was New 52, right?
Yeah, it was like that, or Rebirth. I think it was the Rebirth run, like the early, or maybe no, it was the New 52 still, but it was that second Suicide Squad series.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So it was like right before the movie. I think it was like that team. It was the team before the movie, but yeah, I mean now he's just kind of like, hey, I throw out a variant cover here and there. Okay.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, like I said, it's always tough, and then if you come back and then you're not as good, and you got people like me talking shit on you, like Chris Claremont, like, oh, he's so great, but he sucked here, So just go out on top, man.
Mm-hmm.
So. What up? You got something else too?
Yeah, so we're gonna stick with some Marvel stuff. This is all over the intrawebs, Marvel.com, Bleeding Cool. This one's over at as Gizmondo. So Venom is coming, he's going gold and getting a new mysterious meat suit. The all-new Venom and his brand new host will shake up the streets of New York in the way only Marvel's goo monster can. So this was from a couple days ago. So since 2017, Marvel's boosted Venom into one of its A-list characters and made sure to keep him in the headline of the comic event every year, every now and then. Right now, Eddie Brock and his son Dylan are going head to head in the pages of Venom War, and once that wraps up, a new era of the character will kick off. The twist: it won't be either of the Brocks in the title role. So, days ago, it was announced that Al Ewing and Carlos Gomez, upcoming series, all new Venom. So I guess I've seen in this a couple of times that they're going back to the all new on Marvel.
Yeah.
So while Eddie will seemingly
new,
yeah, all new. While Eddie will seemingly be MIA, Dylan will be investigating the new fella that's the symbiote's partner up with. This is a mysterious story with Teen Brock operating as a detective of sorts, and there's already 4 suspects narrowed down as potential candidates. New York Mayor Luke Cage, Daily Bugle staple Robbie Robertson, Venom, Madam Mask, and longtime Hulk ally Rick Jones. Ewing said each of them has nice personalities for being the new host, like Mask's big plans after the gang war, which I don't think either of us read. Event, and Robbie looking into solving problems a la Superman, and the hopes that the readers won't immediately suspect who it is. So the problem is, like, it does have Venom has the gold costume. My initial thought was Luke Cage, but in speaking with you, you also said that Madam Mask has a gold costume.
Yeah, gold mask. Yeah,
gold mask. So, but you know what the thing is, and they always do this, and this kind of bothers me with any series, is they announce these series while something big is going on. You know, like, we know, like, after Absolute Power, they're getting an all new Justice League team. Like Justice League, we talked about that. The Venom War is going on, and they're already like, well, guess what? We're going to do a Venom series, and it's not going to be Eddie, and it's not going to be Dylan. So, like, that's already like the fallout of Venom War, right?
So yeah,
like,
you know that both Eddie, didn't you say Eddie's MIA? So we know Eddie's MIA. Dylan's still around. Something happens that makes them like lose the Venom suit or whatever. Like, yeah, it doesn't give the current story like room to breathe.
Unless it's Sleeper, and I love Sleeper because Sleeper is gold and he turns into a cat. So that's the only other thing I can think of, is that's why he's wearing the suit and kind of looks gold and still kind of looking like Venom. So it kicks off in December, but I don't know, man. I don't like how they just can't keep Venom as one character and just the same character, because I feel like Venom, right? 1989 in whatever, all throughout the 90s, it's early 2000s and 2010s. We're in like 30 years of Venom. How many different characters have had the Venom suit? When you look at when you actually look at like other characters that have come across Marvel's bullpen, and they never change. Costume is one thing, but character themselves and reading, and we're going to get into the Venom War, the Venom War storyline, because that's one of our things, is we're doing the events now. And there's so many characters now that have symbiotes, and I'm just like, oh my God, this is just like way out there. So
I will say this though. There has been a lot of people who've been Venom, right? But in that defense, which I typically don't ever defend the symbiote stuff, the nature of the character is that, right? That it is this living suit that can go on to other people. So it's not like, it's different than like who's picking up the Superman like mantle at the time or whatever. It is an actual like living entity occupying another person. So it makes a little bit more sense, I guess, than like, check it out, a new Iron Fist, or
but it's like we just gave it to Dylan last year, and like he was completely different, and he was cool. He's like, he's got these chains instead of like the symbiote web, and you're like, all right, cool, like let it stick with Dylan for a while, and then like Normie has like the Red Goblin. So why can't we have that for going on more than 12 months? It's like he was giving it to him at the end of that wasn't King in Black, right? When did he get it?
A little after King in Black, I think. No, yeah, because in King of Black, Eddie died.
Yes,
and became the King in Black. So yeah.
So I don't know. I just feel like they're already going and moving forward with this Venom. So me personally, I'm going to read it because I want to know who this Venom is. And it may be a good story. Al Ewing's a good writer. I just think this is going to be one of the Venom series. Because, geez, just think about it. Eddie, Dylan, Allie, Flash Thompson, Lee Pace, Matt Gargan. Who else?
And Wang.
And Wang. Yeah, there's like literally, there's just been so many. And especially
Spidey,
like
Peter Parker.
Oh, yeah, Spidey too. Obviously there. So
Yeah.
I don't know. You couldn't do a continuation and just have like a young Venom for a while, for at least a couple of years.
Man. Symbiotes.
Yeah.
So nonsense.
But again, I just think my biggest gripe is the fact that they're already announcing titles for characters and events are going on. Like you can't just keep that hush hush for a little bit longer until it ends.
Right. Well, my guess is I think Luke Cage is too obvious. I think it's gonna be Madam Mask or Robbie Robertson. Which would be so stupid for it to be like Robbie Robertson. Like, I mean, come on, dude. A reporter at the Bugle, and then all of a sudden he's like, I don't know, dude.
Well, because then it would be another reporter, because we've had Peter, we've had
and it's another guy who's like, oh, I never had powers before, and he's not really in the superhero community, so to speak. So maybe. Well, who was the fourth one? Rick
Jones,
Mask, Luke Cage, and Rick Jones. Dude, Rick Jones. This fucking guy, he never goes away, bro, and like he never stays. He's not like this guy sucks, dude. He's always sucked. He's like the perennial like sidekick, dude, who just like, I mean, isn't he dead? Like I can't even remember. Like last thing he was with the Hulk stuff. He was the new Abomination, and I thought he was dead in like the previous Hulk run. I don't even remember, but
well, maybe that's why, because Al Ewing did the Hulk stuff,
so he's bringing him back.
Yeah. So there's a little hint. So
Rick Jones sucks. Dude.
Yeah, let's start placing bets on who's it going to be.
Oh man. Okay. Well, let's get into the books. Let's start with. We'll start with. I mean, let's just stay where we're at. Let's start with the Venom War stuff. So you wrote them down, right? You had the
So we had the Venom. We had the Venom 36 tie-in. And then we had Venom War 1, we had Venom War Spider-Man, Venom War Symbiotes, Venom War Venomous, and Venom War
Zombiotes, right? Yeah.
Zombiotes, which I think that's what Symbiotes is actually the same thing.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say I don't know
I probably was mistyping that in it, like auto-corrected. So.
Yeah. Okay. So far, I don't know. It's not horrible. I feel like it's kind of all over the place, and there's really no like, I don't know. I don't want to say theme, but like, I don't know what the main plot is, right? Like the Dylan from the future felt obviously a lot like Cable Bishop, coming back to like do that and like course correct time and stuff. Pretty common trope there. There's all this stuff in the background, it's also very confusing because there's 10 different Eddie Brocks now. Like you have to keep track of like Meridius and oh gosh, what are all their names?
Oh, I couldn't tell you all their names. I'm not. I wasn't reading the early days of the current Venom stuff, but so yeah, you have like in the background you have that secondary villain. You have Alchemax with like this new virus thing to kill the symbiotes or actually hurt them. So that's kind of like what's been going on.
There was a Carnage tie-in too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then there was a Carnage tie-in as well. Yeah. Sorry, so we've kind of seen that in the Carnage tie-in. We've also seen that in the Venom War Venomous. And the Venomous stuff has Black Widow and Flash Thompson. The Spider-Man, to me, I think the Spider-Man one was probably one of the coolest ones because he gets the symbiote back.
That was pretty cool.
It's like a little sliver of Venom. And I feel like this went back to even what I touched upon the black suit or Spider-Man Black, White, and Blood. Or Black, White, and Black, White suit, whatever the miniseries. But even though that was kind of out of continuity, it's like, hey, like, I'll take you back, but I don't want you to mind meld with me. Like, he won't let him in, which is pretty cool because you think about it, when Peter originally had the suit, there wasn't this whole back and forth of talking. It was just Spider-Man, and he was just like a badass. There was never this, he never spoke to the symbiote. So it's a lot more interesting now to be Peter Parker, who's very talkative and to joke, to now see him grown up and have the Venom suit. So I actually think that series is actually pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought so too.
And then just the Venomous thing, I kind of like, I don't like Black Widow with The
I'm
Venom
with
suit.
you. I'm with you. There is something interesting about it, right? But it's like maybe it's the symbiote, but it also just feels it's annoying, right? In a way, you're like, oh my gosh, she has a symbiote now too. Like, and
Yeah.
but there is something interesting about it. I don't know what it is yet. Like, I can't really. Is that how you're feeling as
Oh
well?
yeah, 100%. I just
Yeah,
think it's because they've given these symbiotes more depth.
personality. Yeah,
Yeah, because you looked at it in the '90s. It was like Venom, Carnage, and then you had all the characters like Riot and
Shriek and
Toxic. Yeah, like all
Rage.
the separation
Yeah,
anxiety characters. So it's like now they have personalities. They talk to the people. So when I talked about it, whatever 4 weeks ago with Black Widow and her training Sliver, because that's the
mhm,
symbiote that she has. Now it's like, oh, you're seeing a growth, and she only gets and she sees things like the symbiote can feel things, and that's something that you never saw back in like the
yeah.
'90s and into early 2000s in the Danny Way stuff, or even in like the Flash Thompson, Rick Remender run. There wasn't ever talking. There was no symbiote talking to the
I think
host.
I think kind of my issue with it is like we said, you have all the separation anxiety symbiotes, right? Then you
Yep.
also have like Carnage, Toxin, all these other established symbiotes. I don't know why they keep creating, and I like Sleeper as well, but I don't know why they keep creating new symbiotes like Phage and Riot, and those characters have never really got any kind of. And obviously, they're kind of like man created, I believe, and someone's probably like getting real pissed at me as I like shit on lore and mess it up, but they were like man created.
Yeah, they were created from the company. I think it
Yeah,
was Alchemy X created it, or whoever was in the movies. Like that
yeah.
whole.
But, like, why not use one of those and actually have, like, Black Widow have, like, for example, like, Phage and, like, then kind of start to get a personality with that. Like, I just don't understand why are you creating more symbiotes? Like, now we have, like, 15 different symbiotes out there,
Mhm.
and they're all relatively the same with, like, a different personality, but I don't know. I thought that would have been cooler if you got more depth on some of these older characters, like, maybe Venom War happened and heroes were like, you know what, let's go grab these older symbiotes and let's own them and make them ours. And then
Mm. Well,
something
it
like
could
that could be
happen.
cool. Could happen, right? I mean, probably will. But
What did you think? So Venom War 1, and it came out the week before even Terrificon, and I didn't really speak about it too much
mhm,
because you didn't read it yet because you
mhm.
were traveling. And it doesn't make sense to. I feel like that this time right now the tie-ins are cooler than the main storyline because it's like, okay,
Remind
so
me what happened in the
because Dylan and his crew are fighting Venom and his other versions of him in like a wrestling match.
yeah, yeah. It's like Eddie and like Eddie's
Yeah.
back with like some of the other versions of Eddie. It's the Eddies. It's the Eddies
Yeah.
versus like Normie, Bryn, who is Toxin now.
Mhm.
And yeah, I don't know. It was weird. Honestly, when I was reading it, I was catching up because I missed it. And then I was like trying to catch up. And I was like, did I miss something? I honestly did I miss something? Why are they in a wrestling ring? That was weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know
It's
about Venom War yet. I mean, you're right. The tie-ins do seem more interesting as of now. I'm gonna be honest. I almost didn't read it. I almost didn't read Zombiotes,
I
and
didn't. I read it, but it was stupid.
I actually kind of liked it. I actually like
Really?
see, yeah. So
Okay.
I like it when you bring characters that are like B to C level characters, right? And you bring them in and you kind of give them like something. So I thought it was cool how you had, and obviously She Hulk isn't a B to C level character for some people. Maybe for me she is, but Hellcat, and then you had three of the current iteration of Sinister Six, right? You had Shocker, uh, uh, Speed Demon, and Quantum. Is that his name?
Oh, is that who
Overdrive.
that? Yeah, I only
Overdrive.
knew Shocker. I didn't know the other one. So
Yeah, Overdrive. And so three dudes who, obviously Shocker is a longtime Spider-Man guy, but like very low tier villains, right? And so now they have to deal with like Meridius had released like like zombie symbiotes is the only way to describe it. You get bit, you turn into a symbiote, which is just also so dumb. Like to me, like now it's like this infection. Like I feel like when you do stuff like that too, you've now taken away what's special about the symbiotes being like a race and like the Clintar, and now it's some like active virus that's like zombie. You dumb it down. I feel like you dumb it down when you do stuff like that. But I did enjoy, and I'm kind of excited for the next issue to see how they kind of like team up. It's always fun to see like these shitty characters have to team up and work together and like and do this stuff. And Shocker's such a piece of shit, so it's like kind of fun to see him try to like be a hero.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And
I don't know, I
then
actually enjoyed that one.
and then the Venom War Carnage, of course, was written by Torrin. So
Yeah.
sadistic, so violent.
Right.
You know,
Torrin's great.
it opens up with Carnage like torturing some guy with like corrosive acid,
Yeah.
just like dripping on his head. Just I know that's like somewhat spoiler, but not. But dude, it's just crazy. Like, and I just love how there's so much stuff that is again like more written into Carnage than ever before. Just all the backstory and just so much that you see of what's going on because he's trying to find out everything that's going on with like Alchemax and this. I don't want to call it a virus. It's just like a, I don't know. I don't know, but however you want to call this thing that they're how they can kill symbiotes. So, and that's kind of what happens in Venomous as well. Is you know they created this thing, and Black Widow's going after it because it's like a bit. They have like a bidding war. They have like all these rich people like, oh, you can own your own symbiote, but if you need to control them, you just use this. So, but yeah, I see how Carnage kind of fits into this.
I still wish they wouldn't have. I wish Torn was just allowed to like continue her run, like away from this whole event. Honestly, she was telling such a great story, and we've talked about this before. I feel like these events, sometimes like just interrupt the great storytelling because then they have to go do this, you know, and that sucks. So, and it's nice, you know, honestly, like Carnage. If it's a Venom war, like why is Carnage involved? Like Carnage is involved in everything, right? And so it's just like at some point you got to be like, I don't know, dude. It just gets to a point where like you can't do any storyline now without Carnage and Venom, and like I don't know.
Surprisingly, Miles is not there, so
yet, dude, you can get like a vampire symbiote or something.
Oh god, sure, dude. Who knows? Well, we'll get into a title where he shows up later on. So
yeah.
I guess let's get into Absolute Power.
Yeah.
And before that, let's just take a moment to talk about we're doing a new series called Comics and Beers. So this week, so this week I am drinking a Voodoo Ranger Fruit Force Fruit Punch IPA at a 9.5%. Tall boy. So I'll be having one of these and standing up and being like, "Ooh,
nice."
What do you have over there?
Just some Coronas, just some Corona bottles, 4.6. Already smashed one down though, and I'm working on the second. So then I got to go pack and play Final Fantasy.
Fly,
and fly tomorrow. Yeah.
So let's kind of get into 3 weeks worth of Absolute Powers. So we've had the Absolute Power Task Force 7, 4, and 5. We've had the Absolute Origins 2, and we've had 2 tie-ins with Green Lantern, or three, I should say. Green Lantern 14, Superman 17, and Wonder Woman 16. So
dang it! Did I read Green Lantern? Actually, and I'm collecting that. Did I even get Green Lantern? I need to pull that up and look at it.
So Green Lantern kind of is continuing where Hal was captured, and he's trying to breaking out of Amanda Waller's little Gamora Island because that's where they're at, and pretty much the entire issue is. Hal just keeps running into weapons because that's her thing now. She's collecting all these weapons of the heroes. So he's, you know, he finds like Condiment King's gun. So he's got like the hot mustard and ketchup, Blue Devil's spear. There's some other weapons that he finds. And if you read the Task Force 7, I think number 3 with Alan Scott and that Amazo, they bring in like Alan Scott shows up for a little bit and that Green Lantern shows up for a little bit. Or that Amazo Green Lantern, so that they kind of have it out. Not really a fan of the Green Lantern series. Oh, and there's also the Green Arrow series, which was a tie-in. I forget what number that's at. I think it's
15. I think I read that one. I missed this Green Lantern one, and you know what, man? Did my shop screw me on that? I'm gonna find that book, dude.
So what else? What are you thinking about some of these other series and the tie-ins?
So I liked the I liked the Green Arrow tie-in this week, which was I think 15. I thought it was pretty good. I liked it. So I mean, we were joking about it. I'm not joking. I actually mean it too. Like it's so stupid. Like Green Arrow's family. And there actually was a part where like in this issue they're all falling.
Oh, I know what part you're talking.
Yeah, right. They're all falling.
Well, there's 2 parts. All right, then you'll give the first part.
Yeah, they're falling in Arsenal's like everyone use your parachute arrows, right? And then Red Canary's like, but I don't shoot arrows. And it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, the only person on this team that doesn't shoot arrows. But which just illustrates the point that like, what the hell, dude? They can all shoot arrows.
Or the other part where they're all on top of the helicarrier, that helicarrier looking thing, and all these guys flying around with guns, and they have just bow and arrows, and you're like, none of them are super powered. Nobody's getting hit by any of these bullets.
You must be going against stormtroopers, dude, with like the worst aim ever. Like that's the only way these dudes survive. Like,
yeah, like let's be real. Like arrows are, yes, you can shoot off arrows pretty quick, but like an assault rifle shoots
not faster than a fully automatic rifle, right? Like, it's so absurd, dude. It's so absurd. But let's not even talk about the fact that like they're also like, it's so stupid, dude. Obviously, we're like talking about the physics of comic books, but let's be honest here. They're on an airplane cruising through the sky, right? Okay, so just physics based. If you're firing a bow and arrow versus a bullet, and what's going to be able to cut through like wind and velocity and like wind resistance and all that stuff and stay straight, what has a better shot? Probably the bullet being, shot at a higher like force and velocity than an arrow shot. It's just such bullshit, dude.
But Zach, don't you know? There's the people out there. But Zach, don't you know that there's the thing called they know what they're doing. Like they're like Hawkeye. They can go really fast and shoot in the right direction. And
I also am not a physics major, so I could be completely wrong. But from like a peasant speaking about physics, it seems absurd. But I enjoyed it. I liked it. I was confused. Okay, let me ask you this. Like, so you got the new Green Arrow, you got Connor Hawke, right? And he had that whole point where he was talking to Tomorrow Woman, and he was like,
Woman of Tomorrow,
Woman of Tomorrow or whatever. Yeah, she and he's like, no, hey, remember when we were on like the Justice League together? But I thought this was like a newer Connor Hawke. What's the backstory? Like that confused me where I was like, wait a second, dude, aren't you new? Like when were you part of the Justice League or like?
Yeah, I was a little confused on that. Like, cause I think they were, cause he says something like, oh, don't forget we were there on like the first day of recruitment or something.
Yeah, like JLA. And like, he's talking about like backstory. And I honestly, I haven't read, like I'm not, after being New 52 on, I'm pretty savvy when it comes to like DC. And so, but I thought Connor Hawke was like, this version's like a relatively new one.
Well, maybe was it that JLA team that was like when they did the remember when they did the Justice League of America with like the 50 state covers? Was it that team maybe? Back in New 52? That's the only thing I can think of.
But I thought this Connor Hawke made his first appearance on Lazarus Island with Damian.
Oh yeah. No.
Isn't that this Connor Hawke?
Yeah, but I don't think that was his first appearance. I feel like he was
But this iteration of him.
Oh, I get what you're saying.
Like this storyline of him. Yeah, I don't know. I was really confused by that. Not that it really matters, I guess.
Yeah,
but,
I don't know.
I did like.
Go ahead.
Sorry, one more thing about that because I actually really enjoyed that issue. I liked the tie back because I've been waiting to find out what was it that Martian Manhunter gave Green Arrow back in the day. That's an old storyline, like back before like Dark Knights of Steel, I think. When Martian Manhunter gave him something and said this could take down the Justice League, and we've never known what that was. So
yeah, I think it was
cool that's coming up.
I thought when he gave it to him, it was an empty box. I thought that's what it was, but I guess now it's changed. But
yeah, I thought it was a cool callback.
Yeah, they definitely did a good job with that. And then you had the Wonder Woman issue, which I thought was hilarious, and also a good issue with Damian. So they had they captured Captain Boomerang, and the whole idea is how to torture someone, whether it's through the use of love or through the use of fear. And I like it because Diana has something that Batman can't give Damian, and then there's times where Damian's doing something and he's like, well, Batman didn't teach me that, my mother taught me that. And that's a cool family thing that, Damian always has. Like, you always forget about that. Like Damian, yes, he was brought up by the League of Assassins, League of Shadows, whatever you want to call them, but he still had his mother, and his mother still taught him things. So I just think it's funny the way they try to torture the hell out of Captain Boomerang to get, where's Amanda Waller's, hidden hideout or whatever. So
yeah, that was a good one. That was a good issue.
And then you had the Superman 17, which again, I talked about it in a Superman 16, where Superman is kind of revived and trying to get back to the heroes with the help of Zatanna, going through the Death Road, and they go stop into the Oblivion Bar, which I think is the cool. I don't care. In DC, that is the coolest thing. Like the Oblivion Bar.
It is.
Yeah, I think
cool,
that's like the coolest thing, and that doesn't get enough love. Where all the magic users can go and they all just hang out. And it kind of is a callback because Superman has a weakness to magic, but he doesn't have his powers right now. So, he's kind of having these flashbacks of when he had his powers, he was fighting someone, and he meets that person now grown up in the Oblivion Bar. And typical Boy Scout, he's like, all you have your powers, and you're not even doing anything to help your friends, and they're all just like hiding in this bar. And it's the truth. Like, get out there and help the other heroes, but they all just want to hang out and drink. Not that like they're getting drunk drinking. It's just they're like, we're just gonna stay here. Yeah, because in what was it? I think it was Absolute Power 2. One of the Amazos comes and like destroys the bar, but it kind of rebuilds itself.
Yeah. I also really liked the Amanda Waller issue, the Origins. Sorry, that was a good one, but I'm kind of mixing them up. So we'll talk about that one first. Those are really good. These Origin issues, the two so far, they've been really strong. I'm really liking you see like the development of her and just like kind of how she operates and stuff, which is really, really cool. But no, I was thinking about the Task Force, I think number 4. 5 was kind of weird. Like it was just all the Flash thing. It was not weird. It just, it was okay. But 4,
I did. Well, before you go back to 4, 5, I liked for the Flash thing because that entire issue happens in like 30 seconds.
That is true. It happens.
I like when they do that. Yeah. I really like because it starts off and you see the news anchor, whatever, and you see them in the background. You see the time, and then by the end of the issue, it's literally only like 30 seconds later. So all this happens where he goes to this Speed Force. He's fighting, like Flash is fighting that version of the Amazo, and then he has like a conversation with Iris, and it's all within like 30 seconds. It's just like that's just so cool, like how they could do that.
Yeah. I liked 4 because I'm man, and I hope they take it there. I hope they take it there with Dick Grayson. Him up against Failsafe and really getting pushed in with the Court of Owl's maze, and then kind of like Failsafe being like he's dogging him. Like, man, reading that issue made me angry. Like, this guy just like talked shit on Dick Grayson. Like, feel free, talk shit on Tim Drake all you want. Talk shit on all the rest of them. Don't you say a bad word about Dick Grayson. And he's just like ragging him, dude, throughout it all. But then he kind of gets into the point where like, he's like, you don't have what it takes kind of type thing. Can you make the hard decision? And it feels like it's going to a realm where like Dick Grayson, hey, are you going to be able to kill or like end a target? And I hope it goes, not saying I want Dick Grayson to kill someone, but I'd like him to be pushed to that moment and to see what happens. And I don't feel like it counts with Failsafe. He's a robot, bro. You can kill a robot all you want. That shit don't count. But it would be great to see someone as optimistic and hopeful and like the heart of DC in general, really, in like the heroes get pushed. And like, I'd like to see that. I really like to see that. Because Batman is dark, like, so it's always like, he's right teetering. He's always teetering on the edge, right? He's always like 2 seconds away from snapping Joker's neck, possibly. But Dick Grayson, that guy's miles away from it at all points in time. How do we get him closer? So,
yeah,
I agree. Was cool.
I think it's really interesting. And you know what it was? I think I read this article. I read this thing somewhere where it was like, people don't realize that like Dick's been around. Dude. You know how they talk about the Trinity, right?
Yeah.
Dick is part of the Trinity. Dick's been around as long as they all have and has been in those comics with all of them. So you've seen that progression of him as a young kid. And yeah, I know, 70 plus years of Batman history and Superman and Wonder Woman, but like Dick's been there. Like no other character has stayed in the same realm as Dick and made it through and become Nightwing to leader of the Teen Titans. Like he has his own team. Like there is no other character. League. Yeah. And the Justice League, now and Titans and the Titans. It's just, there's no other character that's like him in DC. I really don't think like he's literally the one person that's outside of like the 7 that is, like the pinnacle of all superheroes.
And a trailblazer too, because like with his
Mhm.
popularity as a sidekick, you wouldn't have had all the other sidekicks. So if Dick Grayson and Robin hadn't like done so well, you wouldn't have had Superboy, you wouldn't have had Wonder Girl, you wouldn't have had Tempest and all these other Aqualad, Flash, the other Flashes. Like that all came from Dick
Mhm.
being so great. And like, oh, hey, we now need to have a team of sidekicks. So let's get some more sidekicks in his realm, you know. Um, yeah, dude. I mean, he's the greatest hero in in DC. Period, in
Yep.
my opinion.
I
And
agree. I
that's
think
all that
that's
matters. So, in my
yeah.
opinion.
So yeah, that's it on the absolute power stuff. Hopefully, we'll get some more stuff next week as well as the Venom War stuff.
It's been good. It's been good. I've been
Yeah.
enjoying Absolute Power. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's been
I think
strong.
absolute power is better right now than the Venom War
Oh
main
yeah, hell
series.
yeah. Bit more
But yeah,
sucks.
and then like you said, the origin stuff for Amanda Waller is just making her, she's always been like that villain that is up there, kind of
Mhm.
like a Lex Luthor, but not, and you kind of hate her, but now you're like really getting into like why you hate
It's
her.
because she's never really been a villain until now. Like now
Mhm,
she's a villain, right? But she's also kind of like that Magneto villain where it's like for the good of humanity. But
mhm.
she's
And you
kind
get
of
her
like crossed that
origin.
line. Yeah.
You've never gotten her origin at all, so.
The origin of the bombs, the brain bombs, that was pretty cool. Like with the cyclonic or whatever, and how like that's what led to her putting the brain bombs in people. Like that's a pretty cool callback.
Yeah.
So
And then they put her like, so that original like first, yeah, that first iteration of Suicide Squad, and then the last photo you see is realistically the John Ostrander run with
yeah,
like Enchantress and Deadshot,
Deadshot.
Captain
Yeah.
Boomerang. Yeah, so it's like that original like
Hmm.
early or late '80s run, which is pretty cool, which is a nice callback. So good stuff all around
Yeah.
on the event side. Let's kind of get into finishing up with just like our normal weekly reads because there's definitely a lot. So you want to kick us off?
Yeah, I'll probably burn through and kind of go quick since
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we had a lot of like Helverine ended, which was pretty good. I felt like in terms of like the return of Dakin as this Helverine character, you didn't really get much Dakin in it. Like and then at the end he kind of parts ways with Wolverine and he's staying as the Helverine and but I didn't really see much of Dakin in that character. And when we see him next, hopefully we get a little bit more there. Um, I'll actually I'm kind of talk about X-Men in general, probably. X Factor 1 came out, wasn't as good as I hoped it was. It was still pretty good. It seems like a obviously the political team in the spotlight. Um, I'm interested to see where it goes and maybe like the team actually sticks around and kind of stays for a while. Man, you know what I'm looking at? You know what I didn't read? I didn't even have to go back and read this. Is Werewolf by Night. I wanted to read that. I didn't read that.
Oh, I didn't see
Uh,
that one.
Dick Tracy's great. Still loving Dick Tracy. You guys need to be picking up Dick Tracy if you like Dick Tracy. I guess it's really really good. Um, all the X-Men titles, Uncanny, Phoenix, and X-Men currently X-Men number 3 just came out this week. Have been really great. The Wolverine Red Band showed up. Wolverine Revenge. I'm a little confused on when this takes place and if it's even in continuity.
Oh
But it
no,
was
it's totally
cool. I
out of
mean,
continuity. Yeah,
right? Yeah. Okay. I thought so too. Like, and I was like,
yeah.
what's happening here? I wasn't sure if the next issue was actually going to make more sense. Ghost Rider Final Vengeance ended. Also, not too bad, not great, but they could have let that go on for a little bit longer and could have made Hood a little bit cooler as a Ghost Rider. But Johnny Blaze now back with the Ghost Rider.
Mhm.
Sorry, man, I'm just trying to burn through the
Yeah.
like the mainstay stuff. That was last week. It was this week with the X-Men. X Force. X Force has been pretty cool. It's interesting concept. I like where they're going with this. Like this little every issue is kind of a mission. And there's just like a guest star this week. It was Black Panther, air quotes. I'm not gonna
Hmm.
tell you who it really is, but they deal with some Wakanda stuff. That wasn't too bad. And then NYX Nix or however you want to call it. Yeah, we'll see, dude. I mean, I like Laura Kinney. I like X-23, but this story needs to pick up a little bit for me in that one. And I didn't read Nice House by the Sea #2. I did not get to that.
I didn't
Unfortunately.
even. Yeah, I didn't really get this series. So.
But yes, that's kind of just burned through. What do you got?
Oh man, I got
What'd
a
you
lot to
like?
talk about. So hot garbage.
Okay.
DC versus Vampires World War One. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I'm done with those. I'm not reading that. I'm not reading the Steel ones.
Well, that one I enjoyed a little bit better because it's a different thing.
All Winter, that one.
Yeah, All Winter. Yeah, but this first issue is just kind of now everybody's a vampire, or you don't know who's a vampire, and they're all running. They're all kind of like searching for humans. It makes no sense, and it was pretty funny. Like someone commented, they're like, "Oh, we're gonna have 12 issues of this and 6 spin-offs, and it's not gonna have an outcome, and then we're gonna get like another third series in like 2026," which I thought was hilarious.
That's exactly why I'm not reading it.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you like, I love the DC Vampires first storyline.
Yeah, it was great.
It was a lot of time, like a lot of cool callbacks, a lot of cool, like, didn't know anything. Like the twists, it was awesome. But yeah, hot garbage of the week. You already talked about Wolverine's Revenge. The Something is Killing the Children 40 was actually really good this week.
I liked it too. I thought it was pretty good. Yeah.
It was very touching. Very, especially, this whole road storyline that they're going with, right? And just the whole idea with this girl, and she's helping Erica, and just the outcome of that. It was definitely, you got chills like reading it for sure.
Yeah, it was a good one.
I'll kind of save those two. Spider-Man the Ultimates 3 and Ultimate Spider-Man 8. We're kind of finally again moving forward with a lot of the Ultimate stuff. Did you read Ultimate Spider-Man 8?
Yeah, that was when Stark showed up, right?
Yeah. And he's like, you're Spider-Man. He's like, you're on the list. And he's like, what list? He's like, you're kind of like one of the best.
The top 5, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And then Green Goblin's like, well, where am I on the list?
You're not. That was. That just shows it's gonna be a problem, bro. Like I feel like they're leading Harry back to like he's gonna break. He's gonna break again. Dude.
But it does set up this new Ultimate Universe Sinister Six, right? And it's a completely different Sinister Six than we've seen in any iteration. I think it's pretty wild. I won't get into it if you haven't read it. So,
that was like 2 weeks ago. Get into it. You can get into it.
I don't want to spoil it for people.
Okay.
I'm also trying to burn through books at the same time.
Yeah.
Transformers 11 that came out. Would that come out? That one came out about 2 weeks ago. They did my boy Ultra Magnus dirty. Like they really did him bad. Like he's like he's a little bit of a vagina. Like,
hey, dude, he's got trauma, bro.
I get it. He's been tortured by, but Ultra Magnus is like next in line to be leader. Like that was the whole thing. Like he was supposed to be.
His name's Ultra Magnus, dude. I mean, like, how do you like bitch up when your name's Ultra Magnus?
Yeah, he goes running for the hills, which I thought was pretty funny. Other than that, let's see. I wanted to get at some. 2 other books before I want to talk about.
No,
I read it, but I wasn't. I mean, it is what it is.
You are reading Void Ravels, though, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. The only 2 other books I want to get to before my pick of the week. So, the Aliens vs. Avengers 1. Did you check that out?
I didn't read it. No, okay. I was going to wait for you to tell me about it.
Okay, so I thought it was going to be current time, but I guess it's definitely in the future. It's out of continuity. So basically, the aliens somehow came to Earth, and now aliens are infested with the Earth, and there's only so many heroes alive. And it's kind of like where in the Alien universe, where Wayland, because the Wayland is the company that is in all the aliens, like he's there with Bruce Banner. You have like an older version of Hulk. You have an older Captain Marvel's in there. Who's the son of Reed and Sue, the daughter, Valeria, right? What's her name?
Valeria,
yeah. So she's in there, and she kind of has an idea. She finds out how to save them, and there's this really, because she can phase, right? So similar to her mom. So she has this idea to like phase into like the alien eggs and stuff like that. And I'm not going to spoil it. It's pretty crazy. But again, they bring in Miles, and all I'm going to say is, and I think I sent you the screenshot where it was like Miles Morales has a new symbiotic suit or something, like alien suit or something. I just feel like they abuse and abuse him. That's all I'm going to say. I didn't really like it. I'll stick with it because I just watched Alien Romulus, which I thought was a good movie. So quick review on that too. Alien Romulus, very similar to the Alien original movie.
I just rewatched every single Alien movie in preparation to go watch that movie this next weekend. So
Prometheus and Alien Covenant, right? Did you watch those as well? Okay.
Oh yeah.
So can I semi spoil it? Like, not really.
Yeah, I don't care. I mean, it's aliens. I'm sure I know how it's going to go.
Yeah, of course. So it actually is really cool. So it actually takes place like 20 years after Alien, the original one, but before Aliens.
Yeah,
So
it's actually between 1 and 2.
Yeah, so it's in between 1 and 2, and they finally give you a little bit more of like what like the whole Prometheus and the engineers from Prometheus.
Oh, so it does deal with them. Good. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like the black goo and stuff like that. So yeah, really good. And then other than that, the series that I feel like they're always really good. The Predator versus Black Panther #1. Did you read that?
No, I haven't been reading any of those.
Okay, so I talked about it when they did Predator versus Wolverine and how
that one was great. Those ones were great.
Yeah, the whole idea of the whole Weapon X thing, like how they came about having the how Weapon X's weapons were kind of branched off from the Predator, right? Like they got the ideas from the Predator weapons. So in this series now with Predator versus Black Panther, there's 2 Predators, they're brothers, and they like one is kind of deformed and they end up having a war, and the one that's deformed ends up losing, and his clan leaves from like this planet and they come to Wakanda. They end up coming to Earth. And the reason they come to Earth is because they know of vibranium, but they call it God metal. So now they're bringing in like what they considered as God metal to Wakanda. So now there's this whole idea of like, oh, so this is why it came from space.
That's like a connection. Interesting.
Yeah. Maybe so they're really putting into these like the connections in between with like the Marvel stuff and then like the 20th Century Fox that now is. So I'm liking these connections between these series, how they're going. So then eventually, the Predator is fighting against Black Panther and the Dora Milaje. So we'll see what that goes. But yeah, this first issue, really cool. But pick of the week, and I think I sent you some of the screenshots from it, is the new the EC Comics, the Epitaphs from the Abyss, this new like horror anthology. And,
okay, yeah.
And I found out about it from being on Brian McClay's Beyond Wednesday show on Saturday because he was showing the covers. I was like, oh, that's really cool, and I didn't know about the series. But so the first 2 issues are out. Each issue deals with there's multiple stories, so it's almost like Tales from the Crypt. Basically, it's like there's like this grave digger, grave robber guy who kind of is like, or I'm the head. Like this is the beginning of these series, and each one is 3 different stories in each issue. So, and different writers, different artists, but it reminds me of the early days of Ice Cream Man, but better because it is definitely violent and there's some stuff that you're just like, holy shit, that stuff that happens in these issues. So, definitely recommend picking the Epitaphs of the Abyss. So that's my pick of the week is issues #1 and 2 that are out right now. And I think #3 was on FOC this week. So issue 3 will be out next week, I guess, or the week after. So
the other ones, I mean, I talk about them all the time. Like Geiger was really great, and Redcoat was really great also in this past couple weeks. But I haven't read it. There's nothing out there right now that I'm just like blown away. Like nothing new. I mean, that I'm like blown away by.
Yeah. So what was actually really good. I know you didn't talk about it, but X-Men 3. I'm not invested into like all the X-Men universe, but I really liked X-Men 3 with Magneto and Temper, and I know nothing of Temper. I think she's a character who's gotten a lot of like development. So she came about like after Hope Summers stuff, and then Hope had her new like her 5. And it was like all these a couple new mutants that showed up, and she was one. Her name was Oya back then, and she was more like happy-go-lucky, kind of like not like what she is now. And then in Krakoa, she messed up, man. She got sent to the pit, and so then you see her again in the Sabretooth and the Exile storyline, where she's a little harder and a little like more, like what you see like when she's dealing with Magneto, right? So yeah, she is cool. She's a cool character. She was around a lot. Out of all of like Hope's 5, she's really the only one who's gotten a lot of game time, to be honest. And there's actually some really cool characters, some other really cool ones. But yeah, she's interacted a lot in like the new X-Men stuff back with like Quentin and everything. But yeah, I'm loving it too. I like Juggernaut. I feel like is great. I like Magic. I love the dynamic between all of them. I mean, dude, Scott Summers is the best, bro. Like I can't say it enough. Yeah.
And the way he just like talks and like runs everything, like that was just so gangster, like what he did to that like cop,
It reminded me of like a movie where
dudes, bro.
it reminded me of like a movie where they have like the villain and FBI, CIA guy just sit down at a diner in a coffee shop, and outside is like all the guys with the guns and the trucks, and they're all like just like waiting, and he's just inside like with a cup of coffee. He's just like hanging out, like he's like, so what are you gonna do? And then all of a sudden, Magic shows up, and the team shows up with the two guys that are trying to infiltrate them to get to Cerebro. Like it was just like, yo, like you said, it's like I'm a gangster, bro.
Dude, and like when he snapped on the guy, like when Scott like was like yelled at him, like, no, you listen to me. Like I was like, even if I'm reading, I'm like, oh man, listen up. But yeah, dude.
It's definitely my
Cyclops
favorite of the
win, bro. And like the hard flex where he's like, do it, dude. He goes, what do you want to do? He goes, look, he goes, you can't do anything to us. That's what he basically says. You can't do anything to us because I have Juggernaut, I have Magic, I have Magneto. He goes, I can call my wife back from space. Like, what a flex, bro, to be like,
yeah,
you let me get my space cosmic witch wife to come down here and just wreck you, bro. Like, so I was just like, you can't do shit to me, dude. Like, yeah, bro. He got
and
that
just
BDE,
can you just
dog, that big dick energy. Cyclops.
There's one thing then, and I don't know if it's in the series that he's talking about it, but when he's talking about what happened in San Francisco when the EOA is talking about San Francisco, is that what happened in the first issue, or was that something that was like previous that I just don't recall?
The second issue when they went for that kid. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's what they're talking about. I didn't know if they were talking about like way long ago when like
well, it could have been like Utopia age, because that's where Utopia was off like the coast of San Francisco. But no, he was referring to the previous issue.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Cool. A lot of good stuff, man. I know we spoke a lot about comics this week, people, but there's a lot of stuff to read, and hopefully, if you're new and you like us, continue to listen to us because that's what we do. We talk about comics.
Yeah, man. Hell yeah. This was fun. We had a lot to go through, and we're actually going to over the hour mark, but I mean, I could just keep talking. I do feel like there was something else. Oh, let me one more thing. So I did get, and I'm kind of late to reading it. Was I did get Gooding the Polymath, one of the newest like one shot in the Rippaverse.
Oh, that's right, that came out. Yeah, I didn't grab that one, but go ahead.
Yeah, so pretty good. Not my favorite out of all of them, but like I love how successful the Rippaverse is being, and like we now have Isom, Yaira, Alpha Core, Gooding, and then they're also doing the magazine, which is pretty cool. The Rippazine, there's been 2 issues of that. Is there 2 out there? Maybe you could order the second one. I have the first one, so that you can order 2 of them. But like, I mean, this is a independent publishing company. We had Eric July on previous season to talk about it when Isom first started coming out, and they're crushing it, dude. And they got more stuff coming out. They got Horsemen coming out. They also, it looks like they're doing some animation as well, possibly. Just operating on their own, man, doing their own thing, and I think that's really cool. So I'm loving supporting it, and I'm really, I'm enjoying the reading too. And I think it's Chuck Dixon wrote Gooding the Polymath as well. So yeah, good stuff.
I don't got any other books to talk about, man.
Oh, last one. Vicious Circle #3 came out like a couple weeks ago. So
yeah, right. Oh, that's what it was. I was curious because I thought that series ended because I had the first 2 issues and I sold them.
There was a huge gap, dude. Huge gap between issue 2 and issue 3, like 7-8 months, maybe, or something like that. Yeah. But pretty good. It kind of, I don't know. I'm more excited to see it like an adaptation because there's been talk about the adaptation, right? The rights got bought by Universal, and maybe it'll be a little cooler in like an adaptation format, whether it's TV show or movie or something like that. Because it's a pretty decent story. But I wasn't crazy about like, I felt like it was kind of one of those stories that there wasn't a real ending. But I liked it. And the art by Lee Bermejo is amazing, of course. But Mattson Tomlin writing, it was good. It was cool. Check it out.
Nice. I don't have anything else other than you all know we did a variant for Terrificon, TMNT #1 from our buddy V. Ken Marion, who absolutely crushed it. We're going to talk about that until the podcast ends. You can pick up a copy, either hit us up directly on our Instagram, or it's actually on my eBay page, which is actually in our link tree in our profile. So yeah, that's all I got.
Yep. That's it.
Have a happy Labor Day weekend if you're here in the States.
Everyone
enjoy
the long weekend. Have fun and be safe. And we'll catch you next week, same time.
Yep.
So,
catch you all later. Peace out.
Later.
Hey, comic book collectors. Do you want to protect what you collect? Do you hate when your comic books slide around in your short box, or you need to turn them sideways just so they don't bend or fall over? Well, look no further than Sidekick Supplies. Their product fits firmly inside your comic box, so you don't need to worry. And not only is their product made in the USA, but also ships free directly to your doorstep. Check out our sponsor, Sidekick Supplies, at sidekicksupplies.com and use the code ComicCon15 for 15% off your purchase. Believe me, you'll be ordering more than one.